Morning, Paul. It's Wednesday, the 30th of November. Here's the heads up brief for today.
Hey, would I go ahead? Looking forward to it. Cheers.
Paul, in China, the Communist Party's Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission has called for a crackdown on the protesters. This comes after a wave of anti-COVID policy protests in the country.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting, Uday. Obviously, when these kinds of things happen in China, the government gets particularly manic and actually leans more towards control. So I think all companies should really heed the fact that, avoid political comments, understand that the Chinese government will ramp up anything or anyone that is perceived to be anti the unity of the state, regardless of whether their policy is wrong or right. They're going to implement it their way. And various Western nations, particularly those from the Five Eyes, can always think they have a right to comment on everything. Well, they do in their country, their law, but that doesn't extend when you're outside of your home nation. As basic as that sounds to our smart listeners, those that perhaps allow egos to get ahead of smart may heed that advice. Back to you.
All right, Paul. In Indonesia, there was a protest in Padang in West Sumatra yesterday against the draft criminal code. The government wants to ratify it by mid-December. There could be more protests over the coming weeks. The government has been accused of criminalizing dissent and expression, and there were protests earlier this year over the issue, and there were mass protests in 2019.
Yeah, look, let's dig into that a little bit deeper, you, myself, and Dan Bowman next week, because I think there's a lot of potential ramifications to our clients on that one. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Paul. Paul, this I think you'll find interesting. In the Philippines, lawmakers are seeking to create a USD $5 billion sovereign wealth fund. So it'll use money from government pension funds and banks to invest in real estate and other assets, and it'll be government owned and government controlled.
What a wonderful opportunity for all of those in government.
Paul, in Thailand, the labor minister has stepped down from his positions in the Palang Pracharat Party. This comes amidst the recent Prawit and Prayut discussions we've been having. He said that he will follow Prayut because Prayut is the reason why he's made it so far in his political career. So he would likely join the party that Prayut joins.
It's going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds. Prawit's most recent comments look like a little bit of a backtracking where he's suddenly trying to state that both parties are the same. Kind of ironic when they have a different name, isn't it? So Prawit may be just sort of working out he got a little bit ahead of himself, though I fear his ego is going down a Thaksin-type path where it's all becoming about him rather than about Thailand. And given Prayut, right or wrong, whether he believes it or not, he's doing his job, and the job in his case, unfortunately, is brought about by the lack of credible government or opposition that can actually compete and remain ethical when they get into government. So, for those not familiar with Southeast Asia, the situation between the Myanmar and the Thai military government are extremely different. One's actually very apt at governing and actually has to fill a void. The other's just blessed with a lot more armaments than the rest of society. Obviously, that the latter is Myanmar. Okay, back to you.
Paul, in Australia and New Zealand have both downgraded the country's terror threat levels. Australia had increased it during the rise of the Islamic State in the mid-2010s, and New Zealand had upgraded it after the Christchurch attacks.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. Wasn't aware.
Paul, in South Asia, in Bangladesh, the ruling Awami League Party will hold a large-scale political rally in Chittagong on the 4th of December. Even though elections are expected near the end of next year, official campaigns are pretty much already underway.
Yeah, great. I saw our assessment on that this morning. I actually popped it on LinkedIn. If anyone's interested, they can go in and look at my post this morning. Thank you.
Paul, also in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi border forces will cooperate with the border guards of Myanmar to curb the activities of separatists and armed groups and criminal gangs in the region.
Well, I'd like to see how the Bangladesh security forces are going to curb the armed groups in Myanmar unless they go wandering in there for safe havens. But my money would be on the armed groups. The criminal gangs and traffickers, of course, that is a very good thing. But obviously there's a political line coming out of Yangon that's added armed groups. I'm not sure how motivated the Bangladeshis would be to chomp into that one.
Yeah, Bangladesh has also been concerned with a bit of violence along the border regions with local ethnic armed groups, Paul. So it comes from that also a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, good. Thanks.
Paul, in India, the Meghalaya government will establish a security outpost along the Assam border. This is where violence broke out last week, which killed at least one person, and it disrupted movement and transport between the Assam and Meghalaya states, disrupting supply chains also.
Yeah, look, it wouldn't hurt next week to get a map of that border region
Yep.
marked up and where we know the security outposts. Just get it ready for the inevitable incidents and alerts that are going to pop up.
Yeah, of course. Paul, in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, there will be a protest in Berlin, Germany today against an anti-war protest. It coincides with the Berlin Security Conference, which is ongoing.
Okay, thank you.
And in Italy, the government has withdrawn an amendment that would allow authorities to continue sending weapons to Ukraine without parliamentary approval in 2023. The amendment was proposed by the previous government. Certain figures in the new government are seen as much closer to Russia.
Hey, okay, that's interesting and concerning. Thank you.
All right, Paul, that's a heads up brief for today. Anything from you?
No, that's great. Thanks.
Thanks.